Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, he's in his 50s, and he shares his story how he handled things like a boss with his now ex-girlfriend after she really crossed the line. You're going to see our guy here who's in his 50s. He is a father. He's also a widower. His wife died like 15 years ago, and after he healed from all that, got back in the dating scene and got to see firsthand what dating the modern gals is like, and it has been pretty. And after a lot of back and forth and crazies and all that, eventually had a girlfriend that he thought initially was pretty cool, the least pain in the butt, if you will. But then after a while, the true colors started to come out. And when a line was crossed, there was no going back from, boom, like a boss, he ended it with her. Well, let's just say her pride and ego couldn't handle it. And it is darn funny to see the whole exchange that goes through. And I've been going to go over here, guys, making the point of how, as men, you need to learn, if you're going to be a part of this crazy reality that's called dating, you need to understand how things operate, how they operate and all that. And as many times I talk about, prepare to walk away. And you're going to see how this guy handles things quite well. And how also a big theme of the story is they can't take rejection. When a guy rejects them, doesn't give them that validation they crave, they become crazy. And either become your worst nightmare or they become obsessed with you. And you're going to see this on multiple fronts here. Now, before today's main event in the Idiot of the Day feature, I'm going to be covering a clip of a gal who is going viral for saying that she requires a deposit for a guy to go on a date with her. I mean, you would talk about the level of delusion and entitlement. And this thing is definitely, like I said, going viral. I did this in a short earlier today. Maybe you saw it. So I'm going to attach that here, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here. But this is a perfect example why so many guys are walking away from the dating scene. Check this out.
After I said I would require a deposit to take me on a date to cover my date preparation costs, I'm now working with an app developer to make this a reality.
Require a deposit. No hoo-ha is worth that.
This is actually happening. We are building the app. I'm not even exaggerating when I tell you this is the best damn dating app you have ever seen.
Don't kid yourself, honey. The nerdy app developer just wants to get some.
Because there is a clear difference here where the woman can set the deposit rate and the man can pay for her date preparation costs. So as a woman, you're going to walk into the date already so happy, and that's going to lead to a better date and a better connection. And that gives the man a better chance of succeeding in courting you.
Any guy who actually does this has zero chance of getting her or getting some.
The app is called Courted. So when people ask, how did you meet? You can say, he courted me. So cute.
No, it's not so cute. It's ridiculous. But it just goes to show you the level of delusion and entitlement that is out there. I'm not saying they're all like that, but many are, as you can clearly see. So gentlemen, once again proving why many of you guys have exited the dating scene, and certainly be aware of the level of attitude that is out there. You're warned. There you go. And anybody notice the crazy eyes? What I tell you so many times, pay attention to the eyes. Right there, perfect example. And oh yeah, one more thing. There is a certain line of work, a profession, if you will, that also requires a payment ahead of time before the date, quote-unquote date, where you put money on the shelf. We know what that is here. So that's obviously been done, but that's what this sounds like. But anyhow, there you go. So for today's main event, starts off, says here, hey SSM. I've been a fan for about a year now. I'd like to make a small contribution since you've given us so much. This isn't some glorious story like my kids aren't mine or I caught her in bed with 6 midgets and a pony. It's lower on the breakup spectrum, but still worth going over. Hopefully the young can learn from this, and I would appreciate your feedback. Well, brother, you can always count on feedback from this channel, both from me and the community. It says some background here. I'm a 50-plus-year-old male. My wife died 15 years ago, and I had to raise several children by myself. I got married before cell phones, so when I first started dating again, my texting game was absolutely atrocious. I forgot how skittish women can be. There are plenty of stories there if you're interested, but I figured it out, and oh boy, did I have fun. Yeah, bro. Send your stories about your adventures post after. I'm sorry about your wife, by the way. But yeah, send some stories of what it was like when you were getting back into the dating scene. I'm sure it was a lot of drama there. And well, let's be honest, we like to hear crazy stories over here. Well, as I got older, I'm now certain that the theory of sexual market value is real. Women are born with near infinite value at 18 years old, and men have almost no value at 18 themselves. outside of the small microcosmos of high school, college, or early jobs. If men do the work, gym, money, conversation skills, they increase in value over time. The value curves cross somewhere in the 30s. Absolutely. Women in their prime is, 18 years old, high teens, 20s, and all that. A guy, unless he's born into a wealthy family and he has the toys provided by the family, he's a natural jock, popular, tall, jacked, all that. Generally, most guys don't have a whole lot at 18 years old. But as they get older and start developing resources and skills and all that, their prime begins when they get to about 30 years old. While the women's prime, they can still look good in their 30s and 40s and all, but it's not the same. Well, in my 40s, I never had to use a dating app. I met women everywhere. What I've also observed is that many women don't realize they fall off, or they think they're 5 to 10 years higher on the scale than they actually are. So you will find 35 to 40-year-old women with the attitudes of a smoking hot 20-year-old. At 40 years old, the cold reality starts to hit them extremely hard. Yes, that I've observed that countless time in my life. You guys have discovered that, and in the stories, it's the same thing. Yeah, they think they're in their 40s, and they still think that they have the appeal when they're 20s. It's like, come on, you looked in a mirror? Welcome to reality. It's not the same. I mean, come on here. And also a thing I've noticed over the years is that the standards, the checklists of things that guys need to have in order for, them to grace a guy with their presence on a date goes higher. The list of demands goes higher as they get older. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. And I think personally, it's a way to actually say, well, because no man out there can meet my giant list of demands, therefore there's no good men out there. And that's the real reason I'm alone. Think about it. You can blame it on all the guys because they just don't meet the standards. Because I'm so amazing, I got all these standards. That's the reason I'm alone, not because of me. No. Think about that to many of you guys that know women that are in their 40s, 50s even, and they can't seem to ever get a husband or boyfriend. It's probably because they have such a giant list that it's always the guy's fault. I know something like that. One of the most important skills I've learned was how to test a woman's interest. There are slick ways to figure it out if she's actually interested without wasting time or money. For example, instead of making the first move by going in for the kiss, try holding her hand. Less pressure on her from being in public and way less embarrassing for you if she turns her head. But I'm getting off track. Do your own research. That's a good point about taking her hand when you're on a date and walking her across the street or something like that, or walking on the sidewalk to someplace else or something. I'm not saying grab her hand right away, guys. I mean, later on, after it seems like you got some chemistry, then you try grabbing her hand, and if she's like, well, she sure as hell ain't going to kiss you. Dating after loss. I dated women 15 years younger, 10 years younger, 5 years older, and I had no real intention of getting married ever again. Well, good, bro. Why would you? You already have children from your first marriage. There's no point. You can have a girlfriend if she's cool. I was looking for the least pain in the ass woman possible. Someone fun to go out with, travel with, and who wouldn't cause problems. I wanted I wanted to live separately and date forever, or have fun until it's not fun. Notice he said I want to have the least pain in the ass possible. That's actually quite a good way to describe it, because they all can be a pain in the asses. But you know what? To be fair, us guys can be a pain in the ass too. I mean, there's a stereotype about the grumpy old man. As we get older, we tend to be grumpier and don't want to do things and stay at home and stuff like that. That can be a pain in the ass to a lot of gals. I'll be honest here, sometimes we could use a kick in the ass to get out of the house. But then again, who can blame us given the world that's out there? But most guys are pretty cool and pretty easygoing. But for them, it's, the least pain in the ass. He says, a quick warning to young men. When men hit about 50 years old, your testosterone drops below a magic level. You don't need it like you used to. Back when I was 20, I could walk through the woods, see a curvy tree with a hole at the hip height, and start looking around to see if anybody was watching. Dude, little TMI there. Okay, we get your point. When you're 20, you'll nail anything, but I don't want you nailing Groot. This is ridiculous. Not that bad, but close enough. At late 40s, you really start not to care. You actually look at a girl and think to yourself, she's not worth all the extra BS and attitude. Well, because of that testosterone in my 20s and 30s, I tolerated a ton of BS I would never tolerate today. Hypocrisy, gaslighting, lack of accountability, female shaming language, all of it. I didn't even have the vocabulary to identify back then. Well, was this when you were dating before your wife and then dating after your wife? Or was this actually stuff that you dealt with your wife? Like she did all that? I mean, there's no way, there ain't no woman out there ain't going to test a guy or be a pain in the ass at some point. So maybe some of the crap you dealt with your ex, may she rest in peace. But I'm guessing you mean gals you dated before her and after her. Your information is insanely valuable. Young men need to understand you have powerful conscious and subconscious urges to maintain S-word access. You will tolerate more from your S-word partner than any other human on earth, especially if she's hot. Post-nut clarity is critical. Mistakes with the wrong woman echo for decades. If you ever think she's a pain in the butt and a hypocrite, but she's only the girl I can get, pull a parachute. Loneliness is nothing compared to a marriage where you spend every day wishing for death. Again, I'm assuming that's not what you mean with your wife, may she rest in peace. I guess you mean that in general. Enter Aaron in the picture. After my wife's death, I honestly can't remember how many women I dated, somewhere in the teens. About 6 or 7 lasted longer than a few dates. After some time, I started to notice a pattern. No relationship ever lasted longer than 5 months. 5 months is usually when the mask slips. As Chris Rock said, you're not dating her, you're dating her representative. 5 months is when the turtle head of crazy starts poking out. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, guys, this is why these idiots that rush to a marriage, rush to move in with a girl, and don't spend quality time, or rush into a relationship. Yeah, I say spend 6 months getting to know her before you commit to a relationship, because usually her real self is going to come out at some point. Right here. Well, then I met Erin. She was a few years younger than me, slightly religious, divorced, no kids. She liked watching movies and shows, maybe hiking once in a while. She rarely got upset, and we communicated calmly, something I pushed hard to do. I call out goalposts moving or lens shifting, and it never turned into a fight. Minor stuff, she was extremely low maintenance. Okay, you're probably thinking, I got myself a winner here, finally, Low maintenance girls, big plus. Minimal drama, big plus. As he said, the least pain in the ass. Without the bull shark level of testosterone, the most important thing in life is peace. Getting laid isn't that big a deal anymore. This is why sex robots will end women's power. If they get too bitchy, you just hit the factory reset. They're coming, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be in decades to come with AI and the way technology advances. It's going to be like that freaking HBO show Westworld. I'm telling you now. But watch out. The rules problem. Early on, Erin repeatedly said that she didn't want me going one-on-one dates with women, friends, girls, past girlfriends, or even group trips where an ex might be present. I didn't care about rules as much as I cared about hypocrisy. Well, if she's your girlfriend, then you shouldn't be going on dates. That's not cool. I guess she just means in general. She had a guy friend she's known for about 12 years. She claimed she wasn't attracted to him, which seemed plausible after I saw him, but the situation mattered to me. I told her it was only fair that she not have one-on-one lunches with him or anybody else. Sounds reasonable to me. If you're not hanging out with other women, she should be hanging out with other guys. But then again, well, watch this. Well, she dodged. She said it was different. Bullshit. It ain't different, honey. I called out the hair splitting. Sometimes when things go on for too long, I get cold. She used the classic, we're just friends line, and I called bullshit and said every guy wants to bang his female friends at some point. Men don't hang out with women for conversation. Women think men enjoy talking about crystals, zodiac signs, and Kardashians. We don't. We tolerate it. Thank you. Throughout my life, when I was younger and a different guy, had girls I was friends with. And believe me, I didn't hang out with ugly chicks. I would have, most of them, happily banged them. Now, as I got to know some of them, I was like, okay, never mind. I don't seem as physically as attractive given their personalities. But you get my point. Yeah. How many good-looking guys voluntarily hang out with ugly chicks? No, they want to. There's a potential one to bang. End of fucking story here. But women, no. He's like my brother. He's my friend. No, honey. He wants to fuck you. End of story. I told her guys talk to women primarily because of sexual interest. She kept repeating, "We're just friends." So I told her to call him on the speaker and prove it. When he answers, tell him, "Hey, I'm a little tipsy, and I was thinking, why don't you and I get together? Why don't you come over?" I also told her if he responds about what about such and such, as in him telling the story here, you tell him that such and such doesn't have to know and see what happens. This is your one chance to do this. Otherwise, you two can just coordinate answers. She refused, and that told me everything. See? Exactly. She brought this up around 20 times in the first 3 months. Finally, I said to her, if I ever catch you one-on-one with him, we're done. No warnings, no 3 strikes, you're out. This isn't jealousy, it's felony hypocrisy. Correct. If she's telling him, if we're in a relationship, I don't want you hanging out with other women, stuff like that, okay, then you shouldn't be hanging out with other guys. Same thing, even if he's your BFF. And she's trying to change the rules. Fucking hypocrite. Well, brother, you were laying out a boundary. And as you know, and many of you guys know, they test the boundaries. Just like small children test the boundaries with their parents. Shit, regular teenage children test the boundaries with their parents. You all know they have kids. Next up, time control. Women subconsciously want more and more of your time. 4 days slower, 4 days became 7. I say subconsciously because I don't think they're evil and they'll try to push your friends, family, etc. out of your life. Well, some do, dude. Women do it because they enjoy time with you. When we would break up, various groups of my friends would say, "Where the hell have you been? It's been 5 months." Smack! That if you've done that, and clearly you have, that ain't good. You don't ever ditch your bros for your girlfriend. And you shouldn't be spending all your time with your girl, guys. That's crazy. What about the fucking gym? What about your bros? What about your hobbies? What about improving yourself in some capacity? Don't be that guy. Which is exactly how long I was dating this particular girl. I honestly think women want to see all the pleasure you get to come from them. Some women even don't like it you spending time with your family or guy friends or doing the hobbies you enjoy, such as fishing, video games, and sailing. Some want all your attention pointed at them. It's very odd. There is a little evil twisted into that. They're fucking selfish. Yeah, that's great to think that you're so cool and amazing that she wants to see you all the time, but a lot of it is control and possessiveness, and a lot of it's done intentionally to push the other people away so she's all you have. That's a lot of things that narcissists do. It's abusive behavior. Now, I got no problem she generally wants to see you, but I think a smart person can see a difference here. I think what was going on here, and given how the story goes, she was more on the evil side. With Erin, I stiff-armed her for 3 days a week. Family, kids, hobbies, and friendships mattered to me. She eventually agreed. It was a struggle to maintain it because she always wanted more, but we stayed at 3. We lasted a year and a half, twice as long as any other relationship. I started thinking that she was the one. Smack! There's no such thing as the one. And her crap with the male best friend, her trying to change the rules, that was a clear sign. He says, relax, not marriage, the one, but date forever and live separately, the one. The queen of least pain in the ass women. Dude, if this chick was your least pain in the ass, I can't imagine the other women you've dated. Bring on Hank. Okay, here we go. So things are going great, and then all at once, around the last 2 weeks of the relationship, she started bringing up this friend discussion once again. I recall going into my car one night after leaving, thinking, why the hell is she going over this crap again? We've talked this stuff to death. Because she's trying to wear you down just like a little kid trying to wear their parents down to buy them a fucking toy. So New Year's Eve goes by. I was really feeling it. No issues, no stress in the relationship. I was happy. A few weeks later, I woke up one morning and went to leave her place, and she said she wanted to talk. Oh, no, not the words of doom. Then Erin wanted to talk about Hank. He is not the friend I wrote about above. So to give you some background on Hank, long before I met Erin and Hank met on a dating app. They dated a few times, and she was really interested in the relationship. For some reason, Hank wasn't interested. Aha! So therefore, she was rejected. And they can't take rejection, and they either become obsessed with the guy, or they become his worst fucking nightmare. In this case, she's obsessed with Hank because he rejected her. He didn't give her the validation she craved. She told me she threw herself at him twice and he didn't want anything to do with her sexually. Oh boy. They became great friends and they even slept in the same bed but didn't do anything. Sure. Normally, I would never believe this, but this girl has a deep religious streak. I find it plausible, but I always had suspicion in the back of my head. Apparently, they had a long friendship for 4 to 6 years. About 3 years ago, all at once, Hank texted her out of the blue, saying, "I'm getting rid of friends that don't value me," and then blocked her. She even used to have Hank's picture hanging in her house in a collage of her friends and family. After Aaron and I went on for a while, it eventually disappeared. She's obsessed with him. They can't take the rejection. And then he blocked her. Oh boy. And I don't believe they slept in the same bed together. And Miss Religion, really? Some of the freakiest girls I've ever known were quote-unquote religious girls. So back to the present moment, the now. Erin wanted to talk about Hank because he texted her a couple of weeks ago. It was a busy holiday season. She didn't want to burden me with all this info, but she wanted to discuss about them meeting up. Didn't he have the whole conversation about her male best friend a while back about no hanging out with guys, and now she wants to see if you changed your mind? No, I'll tell you what's going on. She wants to see if you become so pee-whipped and attached to her that you'll give her what she wants now that she thinks that she can get it because you need her. He says, I thought to myself, Jesus Christ, this again. She brought up a bunch of different points. How they were just friends, how everything was always going to be fine between us, and how she really needed to get some stuff off her chest about the way he just ended their friendship. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. This is the guy that she couldn't get, who didn't give her the validation she craved, and he's back in her life, and she's going after him. She's breaking a boundary. Dude, this is not worth it. Erin was talking fast. Repeating herself, what should have taken 5 minutes took 20. Well, that's any conversation with a girl. I just sat there patiently, letting her dump it all out, knowing my answer was always going to be no. This is not an agreement, the one you initiated. She went on, and eventually wrapped it up with the implication that if you trust me, you'll let me meet him. Oh, okay, here we go. To me, that was a full-on Vietnam flashback. I've been through this exact type of manipulation dozens of times. This is how women act when they want to get their way, especially when they know it's wrong. If you say yes, you're a spineless pussy, and they instantly know from that moment on, they treat you like someone who will always fold. Correct? If you say no, they resent you. They tell their friends, and suddenly you're insecure, controlling, weak, small dick energy, insert every piece of female shaming language available. Then it eventually falls apart anyway, but it takes 3 annoying months. Correct. Could have said better myself. And basically this is essentially a no-win situation. But as the saying goes from the movie, what the hell's the movie? I can't think of it now, but with Matthew Broderick, the only way to win is not to play, or something like that. War games, that's it. What I've noticed is that at their core, women are spoiled children. They want to do whatever they want with no consequences and no accountability. Hence what Jack Nicholson said in As Good as It Gets. Erin's problem was that I was much older, and I'd seen this before. I'd seen this movie play out dozens of times, and I knew exactly how it ended. The way she asked made it a no-win situation that infuriated me. I didn't need to see it again. I didn't need to live it once again. If I were in my 20s or 30s, I probably would have tried to talk it out, gone back and forth, and eventually landed on no. But this time, I value my peace, and I already knew the ending. Yes, the older we get, the more us guys value peace. No drama. Therefore, if you want peace and no drama, what the hell are these guys getting remarried a second or third time for? Or getting in a serious relationship? No, or you can get in a relationship, but when the peace stops, that's time to walk away. So I stood up firmly but calmly and said the following. We're done. There you go. Of course you're done, because she knew the rule, the boundary. Her eyes popped out of her head, and she completely freaked out, screaming, no! She ran to the door and physically blocked it. She would not let me leave. Enter the crazy. I picture her having the crazy eyes like that same video clip I showed at the beginning of this video. And the better looking they are, and they know it, the bigger their crazy eyes get. She's not letting you pass, not letting you leave. Imagine if a guy did that to a girl. Whoa! Police would be there in a heartbeat. He says, men, pay attention to this part. Looking back, I should have immediately started recording the interaction on my phone. Yes, you should have. This is a dangerous situation for young men. The only way I was going to get out of there was to shove her aside. If I did that, she could have called the police, faked an injury or bruise, and I wouldn't have been off to I'd be off to prison. To make it worse, her deadbolt had key access from both the inside and the outside, and I didn't have the key. Dude, what the hell? That's a little detail I would have paid attention to early on. That meant the only way out was to reach into her pockets and pull it out of her pants. At that point then, she could have said anything, and I would have been off to Guantanamo Bay getting waterboarded every day for the rest of my life. Young men need to understand this. The law is innocent until proven guilty, except when a woman accuses a man. Well, you're guilty until proven guilty, essentially. Anything in that department. Then it's guilty until proven innocent. Look at Johnny Depp. Yeah, he eventually got some justice, but he also had 37 cameras, high-profile lawyers, and a pile of money bigger than Heath Ledger's Joker. I repeated to her, just let me out. I don't want to discuss this. It's over. Again and again, at least 20 times. Can you imagine if a guy was doing this to a girlfriend or any gal? Oh my God. She then started pulling lines straight out of the Hobag handbook. My memory is a little fuzzy on the exact order, but this is where I really need you to thank you, SSM. Because of your teachings, a few of my responses made me feel like a straight-up verbal judo master. She said she was so sorry, and she didn't want to see him anymore, and I responded the following. Too late. If you truly respected me and our agreements, you never would have brought this up again. You never would have even had the balls to ask me the question, because we discussed the exact issue ad nauseum 30 freaking times. That's why I'm done. When you don't get your way, you just nag me to death. You clearly know how I felt and asked anyway, hoping to convince me to give you permission and relieve yourself of guilt. I then heard, I'm so sorry, multiple times. There you go. Meanwhile, she should let you the fuck out. She's not. She tried to say it was a mistake, one mistake, and that it wasn't worth throwing the relationship away. You caused this, honey. I told her no, this wasn't a mistake. It was a conscious choice. She had more than 2 weeks to think about it, and this is what she chose to do. Roll back our agreements at her convenience, and then try to manipulate me into giving her what she wanted. Exactly. And remember, this all started because she was telling him at the beginning of the relationship that she didn't want him hanging out with other women. And he's like, okay, then you're not hanging out with other guys. Then she tried to gaslight me by saying I was leaving her because she received a text from Hank. I said, bullshit. You wanted to meet with him. Don't do this gaslighting crap. Now you're lying to make yourself look innocent. Dude, you're doing a good job. I point out exactly how she's trying to manipulate me with the, if you trust me, you'll let me see him crap. After that, she switched tactics and said she was being punished for telling the truth. And she should have done whatever she wanted to do. She should have just done it anyway and not said a word. Oh, for goodness sake. I didn't say this out loud, but in my head, I knew there was no reconciliation at this point. That would have been her future behavior. She was actively convincing herself to become like every other modern gal. Do whatever you want until you get caught. Pretty much. Again, guys, for you parents out there, doesn't this sound like your fucking kids? Really? Your little kids, your teenagers, the shit they pull, the boundaries they test to get what they want, and then if they can't get what they want, they'll just do it anyway until they get caught. And then blame you. Well, if you would have you made me do that. You made me sneak out. You made me steal that because you wouldn't buy that for me. Or you wouldn't let me go to that party. Or you wouldn't let me wear that outfit out. Dad, I got a buddy, teenage daughter, real pretty girl. And more than a few times, she's wanted to go out with her friends. And he's like, you ain't wearing that out. And guess what? Then it's discovered later on, okay, she changed her clothes when she went out. Then Erin said that she couldn't believe I would leave over something so small. I don't think he ever loved me at all. I told her I did love her. I loved the person I thought she was, but she apparently wasn't that person. She was stunned. Then she said I was doing all this over a guy that she doesn't even care about. What a load of crap. Well, actually, I don't think she cares about him. She cares about Hank's validation. that she didn't get it from him, that she wanted him and she got rejected. That's what's the real drive there. She doesn't give a shit about him. It's just the validation. I said, really? Do you know what the opposite of love is? And she said, hate. I said, no, indifference. If she truly had feelings for this guy, she never would have brought him up, and she never would have asked to see him one more time. Well, I told her, now you don't have to worry. You have all the time in the world to see him. Well, there you go. But she wants to have both, brother. She claimed, ask my mom, any of my friends, people at work, they will say I'm not manipulative. Yeah, ask a bunch of women to confirm that you're not manipulative. Okay. Newsflash, it's one of the superpowers. Whether they choose to use said superpower or not, that's up to them. I said they aren't dating you. I explained that she's normally not manipulative, gaslighting, or hypocritical, but that morning she absolutely was. And on that this entire exchange told me something important. She's great until she wants something badly enough, and then she manipulates to get it. Ding, ding, ding. If I stand my ground, Aaron will just nag me until I give in. I told her I'm not interested in spending the next 20 to 30 years dealing with this kind of toxic bullshit. Now that I've seen a sliver of who she is, I'm not interested in continuing the relationship. Amen. Exactly. As you said, the mask comes off. This was more verbal judo there was more verbal judo after that. I don't remember all of it, but for the first time in my life, during an argument with a woman, I actually felt like I actually won with every single term. I had an answer for everything. Well, I usually don't advise argue with a woman because you'll make yourself crazy. But in this situation, after 50 fucking years of experience, yeah, you got her. But still, in their eyes, they always win. It was literally a 40-minute discussion before she finally let me out. 40 fucking minutes, guys. That's a long time when you want to get out of somewhere so bad. Shit. I'm surprised you didn't say, I got to go to the bathroom. Went in the bathroom, opened up the fucking window, and went out. Let me guess, she's got bars on the windows too? Just to point this out, if our genders were reversed and I kept her in the house, I could have easily been charged with, I got what should I say here? I'm beyond sick and tired of the double standard with women. Well, you can be sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. Many people are sick and tired of it, but that ain't going to change. After that, she wanted to meet again to get some closure, which I've learned is actually the easier route. What fucking closure does she need after that? You made it as clear as day. No, she thinks she can put the waterworks on, Hobag handbook shit, and you'll feel bad. If you don't give them closure, they'll start showing up at your house, showing up at your job, calling from different phone numbers, hell, even payphones. So I agreed to meet with her after 2 weeks. Smack! No way in hell would I do that, man. Let her try to do that. Fine. Eventually she'll stop. And only in a public place. Erin suggested her house, and I immediately refused. She wanted you to come back to her crazy house. It would have been like the movie fucking Misery then. Yeah, she'd be going Kathy Bates on your ass. I told her I wasn't interested in being trapped there again. The reality was simple. I didn't trust her, and I didn't trust what she might accuse me of in a locked house. I can't. Oh my God, man. That guy didn't do that. I still would have met with her. Well, we met in public, and unbeknownst to her, I specifically chose a coffee house that had a camera. We went over the same stuff. Again, she cried, and we got a few looks. Of course she cried. That 2-week break was actually helpful. It gives you clarity. If you don't miss the woman you were dating, that's a massive sign it's over. And if you do miss her, suck it up and leave anyway. At the meeting, we just recycled the same arguments. Of course, and you just wasted an hour of your life. I told her my feelings haven't changed, that I was done. She asked, did you ever love me? And I used the same verbal judo on her. I was honestly kind of satisfying to see her flustered by it. She tried to meet me a third time, but I refused. She was doing everything she could to get me to talk. She even pulled out, how would you feel if one of your kids was in this situation and their partner just threw them away like trash? She caused this whole thing. I said, no, I didn't do anything. This was all your decisions, your actions, and your consequences. You started all this by asking a question that violated a rule you created. She said, I was afraid. God, I bet you she sat around with her friends. And they prepared her the way a lawyer will prepare their client to go on the stand. I bet her friends prepped her with all this shit. All these counters and stuff like that. I told her the only thing I'm afraid of was wasting 2 hours of a glorious weekend on a third meeting. Dude, did you spend 2 hours at the coffee shop with her going over this shit? Brother. There's nothing to salvage here. I'm not interested at all. You're like the other modern American women. You just had a thicker mask. Yeah, I get cruel when my patience runs out. She hung up the phone and I immediately texted her, don't come to my house or I will call the police. Written notification matters. Remember, anything verbal is the same as never happening unless she agrees you said it. Well, I haven't heard from her since, but I'm sure she'll come back around thanks to your teachings. In the meantime, I'm enjoying life, seeing friends, doing hobbies, and being productive. Well, good, bro. I'm glad. You should have done that consistently. Well, actually, that's not true. You said you saw her 3 times a week and you hung out with your kids. Yeah, that's important. Your bros and your hobbies, but still. A friend of mine and I both think we're done dating the typical modern American women who are spoiled, entitled, manipulative, hypocritical, zero accountability. Let me do whatever I want. You're controlling. We're waiting for the sex robots. I think I could live in a van or something like that. Well, bro, that was quite a story. And it goes to show you nothing's changed since before you got married and how, in fact, things are worse now. And the older they get, the more of a pain in the ass they can be with their demands and all that. But I'm glad that you, after years of experience, stuck to your guns, handled that well. I'm glad throughout the relationship you said 3 days a week, that's it. I'm still doing stuff with my bros and all that. Even though I think 3 times was too much for a girl who's just your girlfriend, for a year and a half. But look at all the crap she pulled. And I'm glad that you just right then and there, boom, done and over with. Because if you would have caved, as you said, it would get worse. And there's no way she wasn't sleeping with this guy. I mean, I don't buy it. I think they probably hooked up a couple times. He kicked her to the curb and she was just obsessed with him. That's what I think is going. There's no way you were getting the full story here because no woman chases after a guy like that who's just a friend. There's no freaking way. I don't want to hear religion. No. It's not what they say. It's what they do. Her actions told you everything. She was like an addict trying to get her fix from him. Really. So good job with handling that man. And yes, you will hear from her again. I guarantee you she hasn't because now you've rejected her just like Hank. And so her ego cannot handle the rejection. So she's got to somehow get you back in your life, get you back in her life, and probably reject you. So her ego can't handle it. Therefore, you will hear from her again. So if you do hear from her again, I want to hear about it. Write in, give us the full story, have fun with it. And also, if you want to write in and share about your adventures when you first started dating again after your wife passed away and you're ready, and out the craziness you dealt with, send that too. We can all benefit from an entertaining story and learn something there. So, bro, good job for you, and I wish you the best. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. I'm sure you like the video. Share with your friends and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.